I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in if you're able, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. So Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Moore?
Here.
Councilwoman McNamara?
Here.
Councilman Isilli?
Here.
Councilman Powell?
Present.
Councilman Martell?
Here.
All right, very good. Thank you. So we're going to start the work session today with a presentation by Naraki Smith of the draft 2024 annual financial report. And I can't actually see who's in the room, but I understand that Ernie Smith is with us from Naraki Smith, and our comptroller, Dorothy Godlewski. I don't know if anybody else is there
And
too.
Kathleen is here with us.
Oh,
as
hi,
well.
Kathleen.
Supervisor Moore, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Okay, so let me start. So the town is required to do an annual financial audit. And as in previous year for 2024, we have hired Naraki Smith to test the town's financial transaction and issue an opinion. And today with us is Ernie Smith from Naraki. He's the partner. He'll talk about the audit itself. He's going to give us highlights for the drafted financial statements that were presented to each of you via email, and then talk about the town's financial position at the year end. And with that, I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Nice to meet you all today. Thanks for having me. I made it. I live in Dix Hills. I left at 8 o'clock, so I was getting a little nervous. I was on the phone with Dave. So our audit team is Dave Tellier. Dave is the senior audit partner, and Sean O'Malley. So the first question is, where's Dave and where's Sean? They've done an excellent job. Sean is having a baby right now. Not Sean, his wife. He's having a baby right now. Dave's son has made the World Series finals, the state finals, to play in the World Series up in Binghamton. So I was asked to come and present to you today. So this
the Little League World Series.
The high school
Oh,
World Series.
wow.
Yes. So this is a big deal. Dave has 5 children. They are all very talented athletes, and this is one of the most talented of all. So.
And we didn't want to postpone it because we want to do this before
Mhm.
June 30th deadline to accept the financial statements.
So you're under a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Well, we're happy to have you with us, Ernie.
I've attended
Thanks
a few
for
of these
coming.
meetings before.
We'll be easy on you.
Hold on.
Yes.
Kevin, can you just make Maria's volume a little bit louder so we can hear a little bit more clearly?
Okay.
Kevin, did you hear what I said?
What was that? Sorry.
Could you raise the volume for Maria so we can hear her when she chimes in?
Yeah, I can raise it a bit.
Thank you.
And I don't know, was Maria saying something?
She was just she was, but just want to make
Well,
sure.
I just said thanks for joining us today, Ernie. Appreciate that you made the trip out.
Oh, no, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. You're a wonderful client to work with. I worked with you as a client 10 plus years ago when we started. And it's a far different looking place than it was 10 years ago. That I can tell you. And it's quite wonderful to see.
All new
So-
faces.
What's that?
All new faces.
All new faces, extremely positive performance. We do a number of towns and villages and so forth, and yours is probably the number one performing that we have. So it's a great accolades to yourself for shepherding this in the right direction. Having the right people that work for you is so important, because when that doesn't work, that becomes part of the issue. And that's actually where we're going to start, the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting that's awarded to the town by Government Finance, or the GFOA, for 2023, which is an outstanding accomplishment, and you should be very proud of that. It's really quite good. So the scope of our services, we audited the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024, in accordance with the U.S. Generally Accepted Auditing Government Standards. So this is coming from the audit committee meeting that we previously had. So it's a pretty wide-reaching audit. We look at virtually everything. Okay, so the preparation of the comprehensive report that comes along, which you'll see, that is this, which certainly passes the weight test in terms of having lots of content. But there are lots of different component parts of an organization that's so complex that needs to be reported on. And that's been done. Audit of the following as of December 31st, 2024, the single audit of the federal award programs in accordance with the OMB compliance, which is all the federal monies that you have. The Department of Transportation's state single audit, the Office of the Receiver of Taxes as of November 30th, 2024, trustees of the freeholders and Commonwealty, Hampton Bays Water District, and then we do some what's called agreed upon procedures, which is like audit work, but less and to a lesser degree, related to the financial assurance criteria. We issue a management letter, which has our letter of recommendations on improving accounting procedures and internal controls, which we will talk a little bit about. It'll be a small amount because the controls here are outstanding. And the results of the financial statements were presented earlier to the town board. So that's pretty much the scope. The audit readiness and responsiveness, I mean, just amazing, timely and accurate closing of the books and records on March 3rd, so just count back, the end of the year is December 31st. That is an extraordinary accomplishment for an organization this size to be able to close and be ready in that short a duration. So it's definitely exemplary. No audit adjustments. So again, are any of you financially oriented people familiar with audits? So it's rare to have no audit adjustments. So that speaks to the effectiveness of the folks that manage and keep the books of the township, which is, it's really important. Okay. A smooth audit, great cooperation from the controller's office and all the departments. As I said earlier, financial statements reviewed by the audit committee. So that's point number 4 in our summary. Okay. We have a clean or unmodified opinion. So for those of you who are familiar with audits, we used to have a different kind of language. Unmodified is the same equivalent as clean. The highlights, when we look at some of the numbers, and I think this is a really important part to take some note of. So this is the government-wide financial statements. This is when we take the financials, and instead of looking at it from the fund perspective, we treat you like a business. So that should something that you can pay note to. Full accrual. Total assets and deferred outflows of $1.9 billion. Capital assets net represent $1.4 billion and increased approximately $75 million from the prior year. Total liabilities and deferred inflows of $578 million. So the positive change in the net position was $83.7 million for the year to a total of $1.3 billion. Okay. I don't think I need to say that is quite extraordinary in terms of your position at this point in time. So that's the full accrual basis. So if you were looking at a business, one would say this is an excellent performing business. It's doing quite well. Then we look at the fund statements, the general fund statements, okay, which is the current focus financials. So here we're looking at the ability really almost on a cash basis to sustain yourself. How do I make it from year to year? Can I do that? So on the full accrual, we're looking at the full balance sheet. So that's that ability for you to, if you're not doing well, people can always dip into some savings account or they could dip into some form of financing, okay? When you look at the current focus statements, that's where we kind of separate the two apart, okay? So total assets of $466.8 million, primarily consisting of cash and receivables, so very liquid. Total liabilities and deferred inflows of $32.8 million. That's a pretty low number. Total fund balance, $433.9 million, which consists of the following: $6 million in non-spendable, those would be non-spendable fund balance items, $299.1 million of restricted, $19,000 of committed, and $103.2 million of assigned, and $25.6 million of unassigned. So those are quite substantial supports for the rainy day. So if you ever have a rainy day, you are well prepared for that to happen. Revenues, expenditures, net increase in fund balance of $41.5 million, total revenues of $241.8 million, total expenditures of $234.9 million, and total other financing sources of $34.6 million. So from a financial highlight perspective, both on that full accrual like a business, great performance, that current focus, which is all about government reporting, and that's the GASB side of things, we easily meet our obligations and are performing quite efficiently. Findings and recommendations, as I said earlier, so there's no material weaknesses nor significant deficiencies. So just to distinguish between the two, and some of you sit on the audit committee, so I apologize if we're repeating some things that are said there. But material weaknesses are obviously the worst. Those are things that could lead to some type of financial anomaly or lack of reporting, in the proper manner. None of those, of course. Significant deficiencies, again, on the side of internal control, there are none. Then we test for those pretty aggressively. No additional recommendations at this time for improvements in policies or procedures. So from an overall perspective, from our end of things as your auditors, this is probably one of the cleanest bills of health we've ever given to an organization like yours, of this size especially.
I mean, that's been consistent, I think, throughout my time in office here, so.
Year over year. So that consistency is so important. I wish I could tell you that's where it is everywhere, but it's not. And a lot of this, it doesn't happen by chance. It happens with great leadership. It happens with a great supervisor, a great board. You're joined together, you're cohesive, and that makes it work from a financial perspective.
And I can't forget Dorothy and her office.
Well,
A lot of good employees in her
I couldn't
office.
say enough things about, and you've had other people in this role before, and she has been a blessing to have for you.
Try to get $1 out of her.
Unfortunately, Bill, that's her job. Her job is to question.
Just do it to test her.
Yeah. It's so different. We work in towns and villages, libraries, schools. We have about 80 schools as clients. We see all of the different types of organizations that are out there. The most complex is a town.
I have a question for you. It's gone, your other accounts you do compared to this account. What's the ratio of people who bond stuff? There's a lot of towns bond more or less? More.
Yeah.
So, I think we bond too much already. So I like to pay as we go along, which is better. So you're on.
So there's a balance to be struck.
Yeah.
It certainly depends upon the interest rate environment. Your bonds are obviously solid. So from an investor perspective, if you float a bond, I'm sure you have plenty of takers. No issues. And you're probably getting the best rate possible. So it really comes down to there's timing issues that come up. What is the timing of your cash flows? What's the nature of what you're bonding? How does that bond, what you're bonding fit over the, let's say, if it has to do with something related to assets, the life of those assets, or a project, and then what's going to be the plan that it's going to be paid back.
We try to stay consistent with the borrowing just because we want to keep the debt service leveled. We don't want to have spikes going high and going low. So we try to borrow similar amounts. Of course, there are years like last year, we borrowed additional, $21 million for ECD, but that's once, every 10 years. But we try to keep it about $13, $15 million a year. Only because we try to, like I said, we try to look at it and make sure that when we do debt forecast, we don't put too much on taxpayers to pay higher year over year. We try to make them level so it's the same amount of debt service.
And even the ECDs, even though we borrowed 21 million more, that was a continuation of the payments that
Correct.
those residents had been
Right,
paying.
so that was continuation. So their tax bills remain similar to what they were. Now it's more or less similar to what they were. Correct.
That's not the tax, that's the tax for that that group of.
Correct, just the people residing
When
within
people
those.
think that it goes along.
No. So those were special districts. It's only people within those special districts. And we have a lot of special districts that only the people within those districts, they vote. I mean, we're talking about doing East Ward Village. So East Ward, what is a park reserve? East Ward Park. That will be only the people within the East Quad that will be contributing to that special district, if that passes.
Yeah, those.
And Bill, last year we did try to limit the bonding to special projects, and eliminate as many recurring events as possible, the recurring expenses like highway paving. And we could do a little more of that this year also.
Right, we set aside, instead of borrowing, we did 500,000 in 2023, and in 2025, this year, we set aside $1 million in operating. So instead of borrowing that $1 million, we put it in the operating fund.
That's a good plan. Highway paving is under, not
Very
criticism, but review by many communities because, our roads here on Long Island are used so much, and it's a big expense to pave. So having to choose between paying from operating if you can, and if you have that ability to do that with a longer term plan, I think the taxpayers are more aware of those kinds of operational issues that you're faced with, and they want
nice roads.
nice roads, yeah,
Safe.
yeah, safe roads. They want nice roads. They want good garbage pickup.
We don't have that.
Not us.
They want beautiful beaches. You have private garbage pickup. Yeah. No,
Take that back.
my very close friend is the supervisor for the town of Huntington. So when he comes in and does presentations, it's beaches, parks, roads, and garbage pickup. And he says, that's my job. But people look to the services that they're delivered, and they're delivered efficiently, and they look to the quality. I mean, this is one beautiful community, and not just here in this Southampton proper, but around the whole area. I know it quite well. So.
The board cares. You have people who are elected who cares, and their employees care.
Mm-hmm.
Try to work as a team.
Agree. Are there any issues that you have concerns about that you want us to give consideration to from a futuristic perspective?
Oh, I think, didn't a lot of our permits just switch over? It would be in this cycle to 2-year permits instead
So
of
our
1
fund
year.
balance in land management really went up from what I predicted, only because, there were more, but also the permits were changed. So that, our fund balance in land management went up quite a bit. But I think so far they're doing well. I don't know what we bought, I think we did, but I think it's consistent from prior year. Because we're always a little behind, but I think January, February, March, they were almost as from prior year. So we haven't seen any drop, but who knows? I mean, I don't know but yeah, building land management's one of those funds that will, and the outcome will depend for changes. But we not only switched, but we also increased fees, so that helped again with growing, the growth of the fund balance.
Do you get pushback on fee increases from people?
Yes.
I do.
I'm sure.
Depends what it is.
Yeah, because people are more sensitive to some than others, and
And you always
again,
have the
being
core
as
people
transparent
who-
as you can is always good.
You always have the core people complain about everything. Then you have people who complain if don't complain. Depends what it is.
So you mentioned the community preservation funds are in this also, so with that, the balance in the community preservation funds would be reflected in the restricted fund balance?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I mean, fund balance in CPF at the end of the year is over $200 million. And yes, it's restricted because it's for a specific purpose.
Right. And what's the difference between assigned, I'm sorry.
So when you see the 25.6 million unassigned, that's in general fund, because only general fund can have unassigned. Every other fund, the fund balance that is there, it's gonna be assigned to that fund.
And unassigned means it can be used for any purpose but typically you go through a board process to approve the use of it.
Okay.
Tight controls, which is what you've been about for a long time. That's why you're getting another award, I'm sure. So,
And we hope.
we hope, yeah. I would just tell you as a firm, it's a privilege to work for you. And I thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you for doing a good job for us.
Yeah, Ernie, thank you for your team's careful review. And we met with the audit committee and some other members of your company and Dorothy. And they were very pleased, of course, with the results too. And we wouldn't be where we are without Dorothy and Kathleen and the Comptroller's Department, diligent oversight of all the finances. So thank you both.
And thank you all as well for participating in, making the decision and the budget process, and because that's what we have to do, work closely together.
End of the year's coming, we'll be knocking on the door soon.
It goes so fast. Yeah, that's the whole thing. You can't believe it's already June.
I know.
But you're out of the gate early, you're finished. Everything is tied up, which is great. I wish all our lives were like this.
Well, the department heads are putting their wish lists together now, I'm sure, so have to
Can't wait.
start on the budget.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Great.
Yep, thanks for doing a great job, everyone.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Looks like you're gonna be with us for that anyway.
Okay, well, that's the only thing we have on the work session agenda today, other than the town council and supervisor updates. Rick, would you like to get us started?
Sure, real quick, Battle of the Bands last Friday. Michael was one of the judges. I know they did a great job. It was a great cast. They had a bunch of bands, I think five bands, four pre-entertainment entertainers at the beginning. It was a really nice crowd. I've been going for like 6-7 years now, and it was one of the better crowds that they've had in quite a while. So Michael, great job judging. I know it's not an easy task.
That one was that was actually a really difficult. The previous year was a little bit easier. This one was tough. This one was very tough.
It was a good night though. And I just wanted to do a shout out. My daughter-in-law and son had their first baby on Tuesday, so we have a new member of the family. Thank you, Daniel George. It's made my wife and I grandparents for the first time.
Oh,
So,
Oh, congratulations.
my
That's
son
so
said, "I
special.
listen to these every week. You better mention the new baby."
I love that they use George as the middle name. That's great.
Yeah, that was. He didn't want a junior, but his middle name is Gerard, after Jerry, his grandma. So he kept the DGM. So
And be prepared, because my husband is also a Daniel with his father, and he's not a junior because he's a different middle name, but every piece of mail and everybody calls him a junior, and he spent his entire life going, I'm not a junior.
Well, thanks, Rick.
thank you.
Bill, do you have any updates for us?
Sunday, I attended a Eagle Scout
Nice.
for young Mr. King, him and his father there, and the community came out. And it was very nice, very proud of him.
It's always fun to do the Eagle Scouts.
Yes.
What project did he do?
Yeah.
He did some stuff at SYS, did a basketball training program. He did a lot of community stuff. He did a really
It's a long journey and a lot of dedication to get to that point of Eagle Scout.
yes.
Well, so I'm glad you were there to honor him.
That was-
Michael, do you have something to update us?
Just a couple of things. So I actually attended the local government meeting for Peconic Estuary Partnership yesterday, and there was a lot of discussion on septic improvement outreach, identifying low-lying areas, working with our town to make sure that folks are aware of the programming. So PEP is really working hard on that. You know, the county is making a lot of progress with their program for septic improvements. So we're actually, our town is blessed to have most of the applicants. There are the numbers are rising in the other towns, but you know, PEP is just making sure that we are getting the word out on all of that, and they're happy to partner with us to do that. I was actually at the Noyax Civic Council meeting yesterday, and we heard from the Southampton Trails Society. They talked about all the different trails, all the work they do, all the interconnections, and last night was a Strawberry Moon. So there was some discussion on all of that. And also, I just wanted to announce that the Housing Department is holding a Housing Resource Fair on June 21st to discuss the Down Payment Assistance Program. So please get the word out. That's going to be at 11 a.m. at the Hampton Bays Community Center, where they'll have that resource fair. So if you want information about the Down Payment Assistance Program, please feel free to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, on that IA system outreach, I'm going to send an email to Dr. Novak at PEP just to connect her with, I know that Lynn Arthur on our sustainability committee was talking about doing outreach, as well as the group for the Mecox Bay. So perhaps it would make sense for them all to work together instead of each group trying to do their own.
Yep, that's
So-
absolutely true. And they're
Yeah.
aware of a lot of the other groups, and they're going to be, they want to definitely talk with us a little bit more about what our current efforts are. So yes, a meeting beforehand would be good.
And actually,
Yeah.
in the near future, they're gonna make the map wider, so almost everyone in the town will be able to get it.
All right, thank you, Michael. Cindy.
Saturday night, I joined the Southampton Fire Department for their annual installation dinner. It was actually a really nice event, and it was great because my very good friend growing up through high school, her dad, who's basically a second dad to me, Brian Cook, received the Lifetime of Dedication and Service Award. I was able to give, with Mayor Manger, a 50-year service proclamation on behalf of this town board to Rich Grodzki and Steve Phillips Sr., again, two gentlemen that I grew up knowing. And my brother-in-law, Dean, was recognized as a top responder. So it was actually a really nice event to be there for all of them, as well as honor the other men and women who were honored. Monday night, I had the Flanders CAC meeting. It was their second meeting. We had quite a few members of the Franca board joined us. Jacques Comer from Wildwood Lake was there. And actually Legislator Stark joined us for that meeting. So it was great to get some county input for the area. It was, we definitely have some growing pains, but we're getting there. And I think they're on the right track, and I see improvement every meeting. So we're looking forward to July. And then last night we had the meeting for the East Quogue Park District. And I want to say there were just about over 30 people that came, overwhelmingly positive. There was one resident who was concerned about people on a fixed income who maybe couldn't, afford $20 even. And there was actually a lady in the back of the room, and she raised her hand, and I called on her, and she said, "This has to happen. Can I pay their $20?"
Oh,
So it was good. Kathleen went through very clearly what the setup was and how it comes into effect, and that really this isn't the town taxing the residents. It's the residents actually choosing to tax themselves to benefit their hamlet. And we assured them that the money stays in the hamlet. It doesn't get dumped into the general fund at the end of the year. It's their funds. Overwhelming, though, I'd say everyone there was pretty much in support by the end of the meeting. Nobody really had any strong opinions against it, or the only thing that was asked was getting out word to the community about the public hearing. So I had told them that I would reach out to the highway superintendent and see if we can get one of those electronic billboards and put it at the East Quogue Village Green with the public hearing date on it when that's set. This way, it's not just on social media or public hearing notices. It's something that they can drive by and see. And if they need, ask more questions, they can call, town hall. So overall, it was very positive. Like there wasn't any really negative feedback that I heard last night that would make me think that this isn't something we should do. It was overwhelmingly positive, and people giving their reasons more or less why we should have this versus, why they don't want it. So.
yeah, that's good to hear that there was, turnout. And I like the idea of the sign. There was an article on 27 East. I don't know if it got in the print edition, but that's also a way to make people be informed.
And between the Civic and the CAC, they have sent out over 1,600 emails to residents. So a lot of people. And then that was the question, like there weren't a lot of people at the meeting, but, all told, if you hear there's something that you want and it's going to cost you $20 and you're okay with that, many of these people don't want to give up their Wednesday night to come and hear about something that they're in agreement on. So, and
Right.
it was worth noting, I talked to some individuals after that go to all of the East Quogue meetings, and there was actually more participation and more turnout for this meeting than they got for the school budget hearing, than they've gotten for other big events in East Quogue. So it actually, 32 doesn't seem like a lot of people, but it was actually for East Quogue a good turnout.
And I have one more little thing. Actually, it's a very important thing.
Thank you, Cindy.
The STOP day at North Sea Transfer Station for paints and oil-based product and pesticides can be dropped off. Very important thing.
What day is that? This Saturday?
Yes, the 21st, rain or sun. Don't be late.
Yeah,
just
that's good. Thanks for,
A big
mentioning
shout out,
that,
thank
Bill.
you from the American Legion. You know, the American Legion is, they're struggling. They're trying to get new members. They're trying to update their facilities. And one of the things they've been doing this year is a burger night on Wednesday night. So they approached the town about having a permit to put a tent outside so that they can, you know, be more relative in the summertime. Instead of being downstairs, they'll be outside. And they had their first burger night last night. It was extremely well attended. It was a great atmosphere. The kids were playing cornhole and some Connect Four. And, you know, I got to sit at a table with some of the veterans and really discuss what their ideas were for the future and how they wanted to move the Legion forward. So it was a really nice night to do that. And a reminder, tomorrow, the flag ceremony at Hampton Bays Elementary School, which they've been doing for years now, is honoring one of ours here, Judge Gunn, tomorrow. 10 o'clock.
9:30.
This guy.
Oh, thanks, Rick. And the,
9:30. I'm always a half hour off.
and the burger night is every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday, yes.
Yeah, it's good prices and for a good cause.
It always is.
9:30.
Yeah. All right, well, if no one else has any other comments, I'll just say I'm looking forward to getting back there in person for our next meeting. And I move now to go into executive session for litigation, personnel, and acquisitions, and then close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Meeting adjourned.